Hello YouTube! Thank you for checking out my video on my Lego MOC of the Serenity from Firefly, the TV show and the movie Serenity. I designed this on Studio, which is a computer program that Bricklink has created to build Legos on the computer, and it's about 2,875 pieces. I'll go through the exact measurements later on in the video, but it's basically 2 feet long. I designed this both to be built in real life, but to be listed on Lego Ideas and hopefully turned into an official Lego set if it can reach 10,000 supporters. As of the posting of this video, we're at 1,023, and we've got like a year and a half left to go. Please, if you can, go over to ideas.lego.com, look for Firefly Serenity. It's completely free to support it. Just give it an upvote, and hopefully we can get to 10,000. If you can share it anywhere, that would be extremely helpful too, because I have a very limited social media footprint these days. I'm making this video for the purpose of showing it off to anybody who's interested in it on Lego Ideas, but also I just submitted it to rebrickable.com, which is a place where you can sell instructions for Lego MOCs. I priced it at $9.99. As of the recording of this video, it has not been approved yet, but I just submitted it a second ago, so I wanted to let anybody who's interested in actually paying $9.99 for the instructions to get a good tour. And I'm going to go through the whole ship and break down all the individual modules, which are all built one at a time in the instructions, and how they attach to the main core unit, which is like the hangar bay, and it's like a Technic frame in the center. There we can see me removing one of the major modules, and you can start to see the interior. And everything should be connected very robustly. I spent about a month designing this, between the actual design of the ship and doing the instructions, which is almost as time consuming as building the ship on Studio. You can see that you have the 2 shuttles that, like, Anara lived in one of the shuttles in the show. They were almost like apartment size, but for this scale, which I was shooting for like a minifigure play scale to make this affordable, and not, I mean, there's like a 75,000 piece version that somebody did, but that would cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to build that. This is much smaller, less than 3,000 pieces. You can get a single minifigure inside each shuttle. The wings of the shuttle will swing out like they did in the show, and that will leave you space for the minifigure's arms. And then when you want to dock it back to the main ship, you can swing the wings back in. As you can see, that roof is removable from the shuttle easily. Just connects to those 2 dark gray studs, and the canopy will obviously hinge up and down. So they're about as small as possible to still allow a minifigure in. We're going to go back to the main ship now. I actually have, whoa, getting a little crazy. This is on my girlfriend's Mac, and I barely know how to use it. This front hatch will hinge down as well. I just hid it for the purposes of this video, but you can see the mule, which was like the ATV that they used in the show to scoot around the planets and pick up supplies and go on their various deals and adventures. There's something I need to say about that tricycle piece in yellow. For whatever reason, the part number that was generated by Lego Studio was not acceptable by Rebrickable when I uploaded the parts list to Rebrickable. So I went in and changed the part number to a different yellow tricycle. You may have to deal with that a little bit if you add the parts list to Bricklink to order the pieces. It should be a part that's available. They've made yellow tricycles for a long time, many different times, and they're not vastly expensive or anything. I think the one that I found was like $5, but you may be able to find one for $1 or something. I did go through very thoroughly and eliminate the expensive pieces, like some of the Technic pins I used were like $1 a piece, and it's hard to tell while you're building it, but then you can go through and actually sort the pieces by price and find alternative pieces. So now we're going to get into the instructions. If you do decide to pay $9.99 on Rebrickable to download the instructions, you'll get this full PDF document. It's 667 pages, as you can see in the top left corner. Every single page of this, I had to manually choose which pieces went to each step and choose which angle each step is viewed from. You see this is the completed core after 124 steps. And then you're building the little coffee table. If you hear my dog walking around in the background, I apologize. I'm not very adept at making YouTube videos. This is my first one in a long time. This is actually my first Lego design in a long time. Now at the end of the instructions, you'll see the parts list. And this is not the parts list that you'll upload to Bricklink. That's a separate file that you'll get. But in the instruction file, you will get a visual parts list. So if you wanted to go through your own piece collection, or like the part bins at a bricks and minifigure store or whatever, and try to find a lot of these common pieces for way cheaper than they're going to be ordering them on Bricklink. Not that the parts on Bricklink are expensive, but you have to pay shipping and you have to order from many different sellers usually, and the shipping, you know, if you have to order 25 orders and the shipping is $10 per order, that's an additional $250 that this cost on top of, like, the estimated cost is like $400 or $500 for all of the pieces. But if you go to a bricks and minifigure store, one, you're going to get the, or whatever store like that, or your own parts collection, you're going to vastly slim down the amount of parts you need and the amount of orders you have to place, hopefully. So that full color PDF will be at the end of the instruction manual that you will get by downloading this from Rebrickable. Just more views of the ship all the way around. I tried my best to make this accurate, but also balance that with a reasonable size, a reasonable part count, using colors of parts that are actually available, not $20 per color. I wanted to be somewhat playable with the interior spaces, and I wanted it to be easily buildable. When I created the instructions, I didn't want a big jumble of stuff that, you know, doesn't connect to anything for 100 steps. Here I'm showing you that the VTOL engines from the show do rotate. They're on these big hinge pieces. Obviously the front hatch does rotate. The sub vehicles come out. There's the roof, and that's just held on with those yellow Technic bricks there, I believe, are the only things that actually connect that, so you can very easily pop that off. The shuttles will come out very easily. There's a few other sections that I'll get to here in a second, like the roof of the neck is held on with just a couple little hinges. The same thing with the canopy, those two hinges on that dark bluish gray piece there. And then that piece itself is very loosely held on too. So, access to any of the interior spaces will be easy after this thing is completely built and finished. You should be able to just pluck those pieces on and off. Here you can see the cockpit with room for 2 minifigures, and then there's like a corridor with stairs that leads up to the cockpit. If you take the shuttles out, then you have a little bit of play space for the crew to sit around the table like they did in the show often and joke around. I'm going to remove these back pieces here in a second. And I'm going to come back to those because they are the more difficult pieces to attach when you're going through the instructions. They kind of don't easily... It's not easy to see exactly how you attach them, but in that little walkway, there's a representation of the hatches that go down to the crew quarters. There are no crew quarters. There wasn't room for it, but in the show, those little locker-looking things would swing back, and then there would be a ladder that went down, so that's why I put those in there. There's also, here I'm showing you that the landing legs just pop off of ball sockets, so if you want to have it on like a flight stand or whatever, you can very easily pop the landing legs on and off. and they don't actually support any of the weight. They just sit there and look like they're supporting it, but it's actually supported on those transparent bricks on the bottom. I'm trying to record this as I'm watching this video myself, record it on my phone, so I'm trying to make the voiceover line up. Those are the side panels for the cargo bay, and I'm not sure how easy, they kind of tuck behind the wing pieces, but there's one of the wings, and it's held on with just a bunch of Technic pins, so that should easily separate. It shouldn't be hidden, no parts of it should be like tucked behind other parts of other modules, so if you want to pop that off, you can pop it off. Those two tiles will hold the engine bay on, as well as some Technic stuff, I believe. It'll be well supported. The engine bay is just pretty simple, but if you had a Kaylee minifigure representation, it would be a good spot to put her, and I put a little toolbox in there. Just some more views of the interior. I think here I'm going to show you how I attach the whole neck and everything, which is kind of complex. I wanted to make sure that that neck was not going to sag, so I didn't want to put too much weight or have too few attachment points. So the way it's done is these side panels of the neck are on their own Technic axle rods, and those support nothing other than the very minimal side panels. And then the bulk of the neck is supported by other Technic axle rods, and this just, all of it's connected to the frame of the core with Technic pins and axles, but it distributes the weight basically for the whole neck and head and cockpit and everything. So you have multiple axles holding separate sections. There goes the cockpit and the bucket. That little archway is basically connected to those lower Technic axle rods, and then it's also attached with bricks at the bottom. But that main neck section, is not supporting the weight of the side panels or the roof of the neck. That was just a fairly complicated portion to design and get everything to match up. There's a little solar panel thing. Some pictures of Serenity show symmetrical details on each side of the cockpit, and some show asymmetrical details. I think I went with the asymmetrical versions, but there's different depictions of Serenity from different, the movie versus the show versus fan art, and it's kind of hard to determine what is correct and what isn't correct, but I went with the details that I liked the best. This is breaking down all the sub-builds and individual modules. There's the other wall. You can see inside the cargo bay I have just a few crates and stuff, but now we're getting down to just the core module, which you saw in the instructions was the first thing that you build, and all the other modules are built individually in the instructions and then attached to the core one at a time, so you gradually build up, and it also hopefully keeps the build fairly rewarding, where you're not just like plugging away for 3 hours straight and not getting to a stopping point. You can build a module, or you can even order the parts for a module and then build it, and then next week order the parts for another module if you wanted to do it that way. I'm not sure that would be the most efficient way. Those jumpers right there is what connects that ring. Those 2x6 plates will connect to those jumpers, and then the ring will also sit on top of those gray wedges at the very top of the core module. That's going to be one of the more fiddly bits. It was very hard to design that in a way that it attached really securely, but was also removable and also had the curvature that it needed to have to fit tightly around everything. I am going to go through here in a second and show you guys, if you're building this, I want you to think of this as like a supplement to the instructions, because it may be difficult to see exactly how to attach some of those modules in the instructions. You only get a single image with a single angle when you're designing the instructions. So I wanted to show you that this bulb or engine cowling piece is not at all built with hinges. It's built very rigidly using those Technic angled connectors, and then off of those come more angled connectors facing toward the rear, which give you that conical bulb type shape. And the curves on the outside Now, those sand blue canopy pieces are probably the most rare pieces in here. They were in some of those Mars sets with the little triangle-headed aliens and the pneumatic tubes. I don't know how common they're going to be. There are some available on Bricklink, but they will, it may be that you decide you don't want to pay $5 a piece for those, so you just come up with some wedges that can replace them in light bluish gray or whatever. If that's always an option when you're going through the instructions in the parts list. Now, I just had to cut out a few bits where I forgot how to connect that engine cowling to the main piece, but I'm going to go Command Z and put all the pieces back on here because I've lost the engine bay. It's way over there somewhere. The engine bay connects to the back of the core, and then that main engine cowling will slip down over the engine bay. And the thrusters and stuff will stick out the back of the engine cowling. But this has to be connected to the core, and then the cowling has to attach to the engine bay part with some Technic pins. I think it also connects to those blue Technic pins at the top. Here we go. So now it's all back together. And I'm going to show you hopefully exactly what connects to what here. It should be fairly obvious when it's all in hand. There's blue pins sticking out and one by one yellow Technic bricks that the blue pins plug into. I don't think anybody would have to have that explained, but from the instructions, that was a difficult step to show exactly. I don't know how to do the thing where you draw arrows from one submodel to another to show exactly where everything connects. Here we go. Boop. All right, so now that's connected, and that ring is just sitting, it's connected at the bottom, and then it's just sitting on top of all that stuff to keep it in the right location. I believe this is coming to the end of the video now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to discuss. Please do support it on Lego Ideas because it would be epic if this got made into a real Lego set. Also, shout out to my favorite Lego YouTuber, Robin Hood Bricks. If you don't subscribe to Robin Hood Bricks, that guy has the funnest Lego channel on all of YouTube, and it's criminally undersubscribed. Go check out Robin Hood Bricks for a really cool Lego city. Thank you so much for taking an interest in my MOC of Serenity. I hope that if you want to build it, you're able to. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. I hope that we can get it to 10,000 on Lego Ideas. And that'll do it. Let's take a real quick look at the estimated cost. 2,877 pieces, $429 US for the price of the pieces, not including shipping or anything. That's Studio's estimate. That, take that with a grain of salt. And then we're going to go check out the specs real quick. So I think I built this thing facing side on as opposed to facing the front of the build space. So the width is actually the length. The length would be 23.1 inches. The width would be 16.5 inches, and the height is the same. It's going to be almost 10 inches tall. So you're going to need a big shelf. And then if you need weight for any reason, it's 97.5 grams. All right. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube video. Please support it on Lego Ideas. Please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at chestnut.clyde. I will do my best to answer any messages if you download the instructions and need help or anything. Instagram, chestnut.clyde. And if you go way back on there, you can see my older Lego designs, some of the Ghost and the Republic gunship and stuff that I actually built myself. And that's it. Thanks a lot. Please enjoy the rest of your day. See ya. Bye.